All right, so today's talk is on funding and incentives. Everyone wants funding. You start your business, we all want some cash to get going, to get our business off the ground and things like that. So this is quite a popular talk. There's a whole lot of slides at the end, which I'm not going to go through in detail, but we will put them up in the video so that afterwards you guys can get onto our website and just go through it. And if there's anything you want or information you can't read or want to see with the slides, just send us an email, please. Okay, so info@sme.tax. It'll come through to us. A lot of you guys have dealt with Edward, who runs the back end. So we'll make sure you get a copy of the slides as well if you want. This is a lot. There's about 10 slides of different areas where you can get funding, what incentives are actually available, and things like that. But we're going to start at the start because there's no such thing as free cash. Nothing for Homaala. We've all heard that one before. And what's quite important to understand around funding, it's somebody else's cash. So when we go to the bank and we want funding, it's somebody else's money. The people who actually deposited their money in the bank is now lending out. If it's friends and family, it's their money they've earned, they're loaning onto you, they want it back. If it's a government incentive or a government loan, it's your tax money that you've been paying, that the government is now lending out, and they obviously would like a return on that, plus some interest. So I think a lot of people have to just grasp the fact that the funding is somebody else's money. Okay, and that's an important aspect that we'll go through in the talk. So funding incentives. Okay, so we're going to look at access to funding. So before we get through to incentives and stuff, let's look at where are the sort of means of funding. And the easiest means of funding is obviously sales. And I know a lot of people might go, oh, but like, I want to build a factory. I need money to build the factory. But you first got to prove to somebody that you can sell the things that you're going to make. So it's always called proof of concept. You always hear people go, prove to us it works. Prove to us that your idea works. And that comes from sales. So you guys remember when we did the talk around your actual budget, how to build your budget and stuff like that? A lot of the things we're going to talk about now tie into that talk because people want to see where the process is filtering through. What are you going to do with, and in this example, we can just say, like, what are you going to do with the funder's money? So we'll talk of the funder as the third party, whether it's the bank, whether it's a DTR loan, a CFA, CEDA, whether it's money from me, So the third party wants to see what are you going to do with their funding? Can you handle it? Can you pay it back? So that's important to understand. Okay. So in sales is everything, obviously. So these are the different types of sales income, revenue that you're looking at. Personal service, accountant, photographer, anything you do yourself, estate agent, things like that where it's yourself. Very often you need very little funding. Your funding will generally come in the form of how do you pay for your education? That's where your funding. You might need a bursary to become an accountant or write your estate agent's board exams. You need someone to fund that. That's generally where the funding will come in, especially in personal services. A lot of this could be building websites. So you can learn from obviously YouTube and things like that. So personal services industry, very often you need very small amounts of funding. Okay, so if I drive to and I use this example quite a bit, I drive to the fruit market and I buy some fruit. and I drive to the tax rank to sell it, that costs me very little. It's time, transport. I can even use a taxi. I don't have to have my own vehicle. So the cost of capital is a lot smaller. So all those personal services things, you need less funding. But you might start in personal services and grow a much larger company. And those things will then go down into like a reseller. You guys have all heard of like Take a Lot, anything where they on-sell somebody else's stuff. You know, and it's not so much like the retail store like Checkers and ShopRite and they can pay, but a reseller would be, I know that you do firework, and I go and I find people to buy fire extinguishers. And I come to you and I buy them from you for $10, I sell them to that guy for 15. I'm just a reseller. You're going to make all your money servicing all those clients. You see, so it costs me nothing. My time to get around to clients to market the service. So resellers literally take somebody else's product, somebody else's intellectual property, and they on-sell that. You would hear of these Tupperware things, and those are often reseller type of stuff, where it's your time, knocking on doors, talking to people, having a network, and things like that. So again, a lot less cash needed, but these things are grooming you into proving to a funder, I can sell. So that's what you need to be able to do, is sell. Because if you can sell, you're going to be able to get money back to pay the loan. Yeah. Retail is obviously a lot more expensive, and retail kicks into things like franchises, stores like spas. Spas are shops, retail, but obviously doesn't take as much money as setting up like a pick and pay or anything like that. But the concept is still exactly the same. You're buying a product, you bring it into your store, your cash is sitting on the shelf. That's what it is. Your cash is sitting on the shelf. And if you don't move that cash fast enough, what's going to happen is you're going to run out of cash flow to buy the next batch of stock and things like that. So retail is and this is where real money starts to filter in, because signing a long-term lease, buying a franchise, these things are real sort of capital intensive items. Stocking your shop could run into hundreds and hundreds of thousands of rands of stock, multiple millions of rands. So all of these things, and then of course, obviously, manufacturing, supplies, everything, that's even more money. So when you're looking at these funding sort of links we're going to share with you, incentive links, and things like that, understand where you fit in the cycle. Okay, because it's important, because if I go to a funder and I want to, like there was recently, just before COVID, I think they just closed down now. There was a cell phone manufacturing plant open up in KZN. DTR funded multiple millions of rands. They just closed down the other day. I think earlier this year, liquidated. No one bought their phones. So the example I'm using with that, why I'm saying that, is that I can go to a funder and I can prove all the things. But if I can't sell, I don't have a market, the funder's going to go, how do I get my money back? How are you going to pay your money back? Because the funder's going to pay somebody. The money comes from someone. So when you look at the incentives and you look at the funding structures, you're more likely to get funding if you speak into your skill. You know, if you're a motor mechanic, you're not going to open a plant to manufacture sugar. Where's your skill set? I'll make more sense getting an incentive from insurance to open like a panel beating shop. You see what I'm saying? Stick with your, but then you can prove to people, I've got experience, I've got skills, I've got a market, I've got a network I can talk to. So those things fit into that. Sales obviously being the key thing. Because if you can't sell the product, you've just wasted your time. You know? So just, you know, I'm going to run through those like that. and just continuously work through the sort of system. Low intensity funding, high intensity funding. So obviously, while sales are important, what we did from our budget talk earlier, if you understand your market, you understand how much profit margin you're going to make, all of that works through into how you're going to fund things. Because if I'm making a high profit margin, I can take on a lot more debt, which allows me to pay a high interest rate. So maybe I don't qualify for a bank loan because I don't own a house. So the bank says, no, you don't have any equity, I can't give you a bank loan. But I can go to my uncle and he's like, I don't get my money back. Now he charges me way more money, like a loan shark, and he now charges me 40%. If my gross profit margin on my product, on my sales, doesn't cover my interest on my loan, you see, this is where it actually ties in. Why we did that talk before this one. Because it fits into your loan application, your loan funding, and what risk you can take. Because if you don't get a loan at the bank, if your margins are high enough, you can get a loan from like a loan shark or something like that. So, but you must know what your margins are, what the payment terms are. So that's quite important. Obviously, debts and loans are expensive. Grants, not necessarily free money. There's a little bit of free money in enterprise and development. You guys would have heard a lot of companies do ESD programs and things like that, and they fund certain things. Like some of you are on our free enterprise program, where we're doing accounting, tax, mentorship. That's free, you know. But other programs that are similar, if a corporate runs it, they put a budget aside, and maybe you might need a laptop or a vehicle. They'll buy that, so it's free money. It's a grant. So just be aware that not all of it's free money. You'll have to pay somebody back. And then obviously alternative fundings could be multiple things. You either sold equity, you borrowed from family and friends, you've sold a product, or someone wants you to sell the product. They give you the product first, and then they'll take a share of the profits later, like a profit share. So there are many different ways around it, but the key is seeing where you fit in the hierarchy in terms of what industry you're in, understanding your budget, your costs, what your gross profit margins, your operating margins that we spoke about, because that's going to lead into how you're going to afford all the funding. Okay. These are sort of alternative funders we use. They're not banks. They generally work on your cash flow. So they'll fund you. There's one not on here. We were just chatting about it earlier, Rondi and I, they're just here in Umhlanga. But these guys will generally work on your accounting records. If you've got a card machine, they'll work on the sales going through your card, and they'll structure a loan based on every time someone uses your Yoko or your corporate card machine, they'll get their money back. Different alternatives. If you are going to use these guys, I see you noting them, go to our website. We have links to all their sites. So the service is better because it comes through us. We've got designated people at these organizations who deal with our clients. So you get a better service. They're more likely to speak to us to verify income and things like that, which can help because we can sort of vet it for them. But this is more expensive. So there's they generally won't ask for equity. It's purely based on your cash flow. It's unsecured lending. Interest rates will be higher, although they don't, maybe not say they don't con you into go, there's no interest. They front load the interest up front. So if you, I would use, and these numbers aren't right, so please don't quote me on these numbers. But if you take 100,000 Rand loan, they might go and say 30,000 Rand is the admin and interest payment on the loan. And then they'll say you owe 130,000, break that up over installments, and that's what you pay. So you're not wondering, like, when the bank rate changes, what am I going to pay if interest rate changes? It's one static amount all the way through. But don't quote me on those numbers, rather get an actual quote. So these are alternative type of funders that we find for our clients, especially smaller enterprises that don't have lots of assets, these work well. They are more expensive, as I said. However, also, if you've done your budgeting, your cash flow, you'll know if you can afford it. Okay, cool. Okay, before we dig into this, alternatives to go in a bit more detail. Anything you want to ask at this point? Anyone? There we go.
One of the guys, I think, I'm not sure people familiar, but they're from Time Bank.
Yeah, so retail was acquired by Time Bank recently.
Yeah. So what I found, amazing or a bit perplexing on my side was that if they loan you money, they expect it the following month is for you to start paying at the following month, which is kind of, in terms of if you're trying to get money here, you want to do something, it might give you a return in the next 3 to 6 months, but it says start paying it the following month.
It's probably closer than the following week, which is more likely, yes. So just touching back on those funders, yes, they all have different structures, and often it's the next week that they start actually taking payments. But this is why if you use our link, we know the CEOs, we've got our own tech that we use. We work with them closely. So although the website might say, sign on here, do this, and you start paying the next week or the next month, if you need a 3-month window, we can talk to the CEO of Time Bank and say, no, this entrepreneur's got this deal, he's got a purchase order, the delivery is on this, and then the deal gets structured where the funding is not next week. You get the money, but they're not expecting payment the next week. It'll be based on your purchase order and things like that. So yeah, that's why we highlight them, and that's why we've done deals with all of them. So if there is, go through the links on our website. It'll definitely give you like a different experience. They are quick, so they'll link to your bank account, they'll link to your accounting platform, so they can see what the numbers are. You can't take a loan from Bridgement and from retail. They'll say no, because now you're overextended, maybe. So these are the kind of things that we can help with. Okay.
Hello?
Yes. Sorry, Ed, I've got a question. Yes, the question is, you making use of a credit card? So the nice thing about a credit card, yeah, I'm going to first start before I answer that in that sense. We always get taught debt is bad. Don't get debt is bad. But if you've done your budgeting and your costing, you know what you can afford. So you'll know if you make a return in order to afford the debt, because debt is like anything else. It's a product you use. Credit cards are, if used wisely, I mean, you don't get a credit, and the likelihood of you as a small business getting a credit card on your bank account is pretty zero. You're likely if you're working at a job, so you could be an employee of the small business and you'll probably get a credit card quicker than the owner of the small business. Because it's just weird. But if used properly, a credit card doesn't charge interest for 60 days. So you can literally pay everything on your credit card, and then when the payment comes due, you settle your credit card. There's no interest. Whereas if you took that money as a loan, you bought all those products and you settled that loan, there'll be interest. So understanding the products, and I'll tell you a little anecdote about that. We did it for a client who worked at a corporate. He was wondering, how do I pay off my bond faster? Because we've done things for clients, SMEs who use their VAT. You're sitting with your VAT for 60 days before you pay SARS. We used to get our clients to put their VAT into their access bond. For those days, you had an access bond, paid down the interest on the bond, and then they drew the money out and paid their credit card, paid the VAT, and that paid off their bonds faster. So we did the example for a client who had a credit card. And we did the same thing. Because it's interest-free, They paid all their home expenses on their credit card, and when they got paid, they settled their credit card. And the difference they kept putting in their bond, but they ended up paying their bond off in about 10 years instead of 22 or 23 years. So yes, credit cards can be used wisely. They don't charge interest. So that means if you're just making the minimum payment, it'll be interest on the outstanding debt. If you settle the card, there's no interest. Okay, so very smart if you can use it properly. Okay. Sorry, Ed, were you going to ask anything?
No, we just struggled to hear you. You went quiet.
Oh, no, we were listening for the actual questions. Thanks. All right, cool. So here we go. Sorry. Yeah, okay, I was doing a very quick version of that. So essentially what happened is for most bonds, you can push the bond installment out to go from the 15th of the month. So your debit order can go from the 15th. Credit cards normally go from the 20th to about the 28th. They'll take your installment off around about there. Most people working in a job, 25th of the month they get paid. So what you would do is on the 25th when you get paid, you transfer all your money into your bond. But this is only if you have an access bond. The banks have got smarter now, so they block your money. But there are still ways to do it. So you wouldn't, in that circumstance, put all your money in your bond. And then when your debit orders came off, generally by the 7th, you just transferred just what you needed. Your debit orders went off, the rest stayed in your bond. On the 15th, when your credit card was due, you transfer the full amount out your bond, settle your credit card. Done. Then it goes from there. And then that cycle builds up. And it's obviously the more you earn, the higher the number of variables are, but it still works regardless of what you're earning. Nowadays with access bonds, what you'll find is you can't move money in and out, but the interest savings you would have saved on the credit card, you just take that difference and put it into your bond every month, and it'll pay off your bond faster. Okay, cool. Great. Okay, alternative funds. So these are the sources of funds most commonly found. Friends, fools, and family. Those are the best. And it's maybe a misnomer because if people understood why friends, fools, and family paid them, would loan them the money, you'll get money from everyone else. And the reason why your family or your cousin or someone, a friend of yours, will give you the money is because they've met you. They've heard how passionate you are about your business. You bought them mentally stiff about my product, I'm going to do this, I've got this market, these are the guys, this is my margin. You doing that to these people, and they're going, I believe you. How can I not? You're so passionate, you've got all the numbers. But then you go to and the bank and you look at all that paperwork, which is the same thing they're asking for, is what you're telling your friends, but obviously now in a form. And if you put that same information inside there with your business plan, they're likely to find you because that's what they want to know. What's my market? Why am I so passionate? What's happening? How do my margins work? How fast can I pay you back? That's what everyone else wants. You know, and a lot of people forget, but my uncle just loaned me the money. Yeah, but he's listened to you for weeks going on about this thing, about this business, how quick you're going to make the money, what the turnaround, how much he can get back. So that is often why funding from friends, family, and fools are easier, because they know you, they know where you live, so that's what the bank wants proof of address. Your family knows where you live, they know they can reach you if they want to find out why they haven't been paid. So there's very little paperwork. Obviously, there's banks. I think it's on the next slide we'll go through. But shareholders, alternative, you can bring people on. So maybe your uncle, I'm using your uncle as an example, loans you the money, your dad, your mom, and they realize, hold on, this is a proper business. You can't pay it back because it's growing, so you're keeping the money. And I go, hold on, let me become a shareholder, keep the money. maybe out of the profits. And that's what shareholders do. So you might have two friends. One of you got money, one of you don't, one of you got the skills. How do we make this work? One friend puts the money in, or a third party. Maybe it's their family, or they work at a corporate who's going to give a loan and they want shares. That's where the shareholding works. Obviously, a bit more paperwork, a bit more legal. Now you want a structured thing like a registered company, because now everyone's able to see where the money is going. You need more books of account. There's a lot more formal. And then the sort of venture capital. This is a problem in SA, venture capital. And we work with these guys, all of them. There's not a venture capitalist in South Africa we don't work with. And I'm going to upset them if they listen to, if they actually listen to the video. Because capital is so expensive in SA, and we feel this. We as entrepreneurs who go to banks and borrow money, the interest rate is what kills us. So capital is expensive. And it's expensive because they say you're an entrepreneur, you're high risk, so they increase the interest even more because they're worrying about how they're going to get their money back. Now, and I understand this from the venture capitalists, they're borrowing money from other people to loan to risky entrepreneurs. So the interest is even higher. So the cost of capital for venture capitalists in SA is mental. So they've got to win. You literally arrive at their door and you've got the next, just use like the next iPhone. They've seen it. They're like, wow, I've got orders already. Every single sell shop's already got orders. They've got orders of 1 million. This thing can't fail. They'll give you the money. Because they have to make sure they get people that win. Because the cost of capital is too high. Whereas places like the US, like the UK, capital's cheap. A little bit more expensive now. So they're crying now that interest is high in the US. I think we'd all be happy with only paying 6%. That's what they're interested in. And they're crying. It's high. They normally pay 0.5%, 1%, 2%. South Africa, we have never seen below 6% in a long time. I'd be happy with 6% right now. I'll take it. So the cost of capital is cheaper there. So therefore, they can take more risk. I can get 20 people funded, and if only 2 of them make it, I'll make enough money to pay my loan back. In South Africa, I can fund 10 people, and 9 of them have to make it. Otherwise, I don't make it. So that's why it's a lovely sector, and the people are fabulous, but the cost of capital is too high. So we never see a lot of entrepreneurs in our space that get funding from this. It's a business that, sure, there's quite a few of them now, but they're mostly tech, very specialized tech industry where they've already got orders from large international companies. Now they need to scale, they get the funding. Not us, I'm afraid. So I've put it there so we know what it is about. I mean, if you're inventing the next, or you're writing the code for the next Clash of Clans or some other cool game that's coming out, you're going to get funded immediately. Because SA Gaming is big, and the biggest gaming company is just down way in China. They're the biggest gaming company in the world, and they're just up the road here. So SA has got a good brand for games, whether it be online gambling or just gaming, normal games. Then you'll get to PC. They'll be paying you money like crazy. Yeah, the only free money you're probably going to get. And I say that not jokingly. So we all know ESD. A lot of us want to be on ESD programs. We run ESD programs. And what works about ESD is there's free money. So going back to the talk we did previously around your budget, around your market, who your clients are, if you guys have done that from our last talk, you will know where you're buying your products from. So let's say we got an example of a guy who was on our first program. He started as a locksmith, struggling. Used to work in insurance, started as a locksmith, wanted to sort of get into the industry, but he couldn't afford it. He could drive out and get the odd job here, open a house, change a lock. And I said, well, so we obviously met him. He was on our first program. And I said, but have you gone to the lock manufacturers? Because there are a number of lock manufacturers in SA. And they have an ESD program because they want to get more people. They've got to spend 3% of their net profit on ESD. So what are they doing for enterprise and development? He goes, I don't know. And he went and found out. He went and asked the guys, Orsis, and then they gave him key cutting machines. They gave him the actual stuff because they had it. It was part of their demo, part of their training. They put him on a training course, and he started a shop. And he now has all the equipment. They bought him a vehicle. Doesn't have to pay it back as a grant. Free money. So look at your business and look at essentially who you're buying from, first of all, because they'll benefit of your growth because you'll buy the product from them in the future. You know, so if you make yogurt, for example, that's a silly example, but you buy milk from Clover. Why would Clover not encourage you and fund you because you're going to buy the excess milk to make yogurt, maybe you make cheese, things like that. So first of all, look at where your product comes from. Because those people, those corporates have got an incentive to help you. Because you're the client who's going to buy it. Or you do it the other side and who you're supplying the service to. So if you're a network IT guy, you know, that's not something you need lots of money for. But now you go to corporates or mid-tier companies that need their wiring, their cable, their network, Wi-Fi. And you go talk to them about it. You go, but I can supply this stuff. You know, and they go, yeah, cool. And they use their enterprise and development money. They need a network anyway. They give you the money, so they're paying you and they're getting points for it. Free money. So if you take what we did on our previous talk on the budgets, the market, who you're talking to, who you're selling to, that's the only place you're going to get free cash. Or your parents or family just say, yeah, I'm tired of hearing your story, just go away, just take the money, I don't want to hear it. This is proper free money. We're working with large clients, and it's not that, unfortunately, it's not like everything else, it won't work for everybody. But we deal with very large clients where they've given ESD participants, besides us doing all the accounting, mentoring and stuff like that, they've given them trucks, vehicles with millions, not 1 or 2 millions, 10, 20, 30 million for free. Not a loan. Here's a bus, bro. Can you get my staff from Durban to the South Coast? I can. Here's a bus. Here's a contract. So look at your business. Look at your costing. Look at who you're buying from. Look at who you're selling to. You'll find the money. This is generally one of the free things. This might seem a bit off, considering we're talking funding and now we're going on to tax, as you. But SARS never gives you anything. We always pay. This is probably the only thing SARS gives you that's real money in your pocket. Okay, and the point of it, like if you're getting ESD, so if you can time it up properly, you can get some good ESD funding and you hire your staff, you actually get money back. So your wage bill would be, you know, your pay-as-you-earn bill to SARS would be sort of 20, 30,000. And you've employed, and we say youth, but you're literally under the age of 30. So these are people generally with some experience. They can work on your business, and you actually then get a discount on your pay-as-you-earn that you pay SARS. So instead of maybe paying over 30, 40,000, depending on the mix and the makeup of your staff, you might end up paying half of that only. That's money that you keep inside your business. The point of these things is to grow the actual economy. I know with load shedding and all the red tape we get faced with, it doesn't look like they want us to grow the actual economy, but these incentives are meant to do that. ESD is meant to do that. Small business tax is meant to do that, to grow the actual economy. So this is something to be aware of. So when you're doing your little budget and your calculations, what I'm going to be paying on my salaries, I'm going to be saving on my pay-as-you-earn. And that's going to give you more cash to pay a loan back faster, possibly, or, buy a vehicle or do something like that. I mean, we did a program now recently again, and we had to employ 50 youth on a program. It halved our pay-as-you-earn bill. This halved our pay-as-you-earn. So it can be incredibly effective. So look at these actual type of things in your planning. So grants and incentives. So this is obviously the crux of our talk. From the government, it's DTR, CEDA, CIFA, but anyone can give you a grant. Any corporates, they can give you a grant. So, but the main thing is a lot of people look to government for grants, for incentives, for help. So we're going to look at some of those. But they come sort of, I wouldn't say with golden handcuffs. A lot of the grants and incentives coming out of the government, there's a but clause in the sense that, yes, we'll give you R1 million grant to do your farm. Co-op, maybe a co-op grant, but you must have 200,000 rand. Where the hell are we going to get that? And they missed the memo that we didn't have the 200,000 rand to start with. So a lot of these grants you're going to find come with a clause, and that's you've got to have something to contribute. And a lot of people think, well, I haven't got 200,000 rand. And remember on our budget talk and costing, we said, but you've got assets. Maybe you've got tools, you've got stuff that you've brought into your business that you've acquired over time. Those things could be the 200,000 or the 100,000 rand, whatever that hurdle is. So if you don't talk to the right people about framing these things, you'd go, but I don't have the 10% contribution. Actually, you probably do. Or the corporate on the ESD program that you're talking to, their grant makes up the difference. So don't look at any one of these things in isolation. You want to look at it across the spectrum of what you're doing. Okay, you don't have to be part of only one ESD program. You might find in your industry that you're working in, you can talk to multiple people. If you're a farmer, I'm talking to the equipment manufacturer because I want to use their tools, but I'm also talking to the fertilizer guy, Omni in them. And they're both got programs. Why can't they both help you? So it's not a one only thing. Okay. Very important about grants generally is they don't cover your actual salary. Your business must pay you. Even a loan at the bank, if you're going for a loan and in your business plan of your loan is pay yourself, very small chance that you'd actually get the loan. Okay, the grant and the loans or any funding you receive must go to growing your business because that's what pays you. The profit of those things pay you. Okay, so so as I say, normally requires some owner contribution, and obviously They want to see proof where the so it's coming from government. A tax clearance is definitely a requirement. They're going to want to see books of account. Where's the money going? There's going to be paperwork to be filled in. You know, how many people I'm employing? What is my average wage? A lot of things, because they've got to report back to go and say, we took the money and we just spent it on Hennessy. No, this is what we spent it on. We spent it on these youth, and we've done this. These are the companies we've grown. Unfortunately, it doesn't quite all work like that. But so I'll just quickly flick through these to show you. That's number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 13 pages. Lucky 13. So we're not going to go through each one of these elements. But what you're going to see, as you can tell, there's a number of these programs, there's a number of these incentives, and this is mostly around the government, CEDA, CIFA, DTR, sort of, and arena. There's also a number of private companies to have a look at. But now to give you an idea, that's what I'm sort of alluding to. They'll set what are the actual criteria. So understand it. So when you make your application, you've ticked all those actual boxes. You know, and what they'll do is they'll give you funding, and they'll tell you what they can do. Machinery and equipment on a 50-50 cost. The very first one, 50-50 cost sharing. So they'll say, we'll fund. You know, we'll fund that tractor, but we'll only pay half of it. So now if you've been dealing with John Deere or the other guys, New Holland or one of them, and they've got a enterprise and development program, you tell them, then you buy a second-hand tractor from you at 50%. You met half your requirement. Your grant will cover the other half, providing you meet all the other things. So go through these type of things, and there's a lot of them on here. I mean, there's, as we said, 13 pages. Incubation support program. So a lot of them also not just about cash, not just about money for you to do things. What we've learned over the years is that most entrepreneurs, and it's something we've learned in our time, you need a mentor, you need somebody to guide you. You need to, like what we do the bookkeeping, we do that type of stuff, because you're going to have questions that you don't have answers for. Who do you go talk to? Who can guide you? And that changes how an entrepreneur runs the actual company. It has a meaningful effect. So a lot of these programs would also include a mentorship or paying for administration, accounting, compliance, SIPC, R&D, all those different types of things. So look at your business, look at your market, who you're supplying to, look at who you're buying from, and then private sector is quicker, cheaper, easier. See what you can get on the ESD program. Then you come to CEDA, CIFA, DTR, and you use those benefits to maximize what you're going to get here. So this is the longer cycle, a way longer cycle. The corporate you can probably start talking to, and within 3 months can be on a program where we've got something, whether it's a discount, whether it's a grant, whether you're on an EE program. You'll be a year. Yeah. A year. There's whole industries that have sprung up that literally take your grant application and they walk it through the DTR. And they walk it literally from desk to desk to get everyone to sign it off. And then you're still looking at about 4 months, 5 months. And they paid a little bit in a year and what a coke there is. Genuine. And they charge you a fee based on the amount of funds that you raise. That's how they get paid. And they literally walk the stuff through. So yeah, just to sort of bang on a little bit about that, look at those things. So corporate will be faster, but then utilize that. Understand here already. So have your plan. I'm going to go to these corporates, I'm going to shop around, see what I can get, and that's where I'm going. Because by the time this cycle picks up, you're already halfway through that, and those funds will come through. Okay. Questions on this? It covers lots, manufacturing, technology. There's a lot of things here, guys. And this gets updated. I mean, we couldn't put everything on here. This gets updated all the time. But the big headache is red tape. Make sure you've got company docs, share certificates, BE certificate, tax clearance certificate, workman's compensation, all the things we've been through this year. Dude, this journey's got you here. It hasn't just been random that we've been talking about these things. This is where you come to now, the pivotal part of funding. Because what happens with government tax, their financial year ends March. So that April to March every year. So now they're in their new budgets and stuff like that. You see, so a lot of the stuff they're going to have leftover budget from last year, they want to start spending. So if you get it done right, you can probably look for some funding there. Okay, questions? Ed, anything online? Cool. Guys, if you think of anything afterwards, please send us a mail, info@sme.tax. If you want us to resend you this, just a slide part of all the incentives, happy days to do it. If you need someone just to help understand the terms that they're asking you, maybe you don't know what they mean, just ask us. Okay? We're not sending you an invoice. This is free. Okay? I won't do your business plan, but I'll help you write it. That I'll charge for. Yeah, advice is free. Work we have to charge for. No, but anything. If you think about something later, please just send us a mail. This is crucial. So what we've done in the last, literally since March, working on is to get the funding. And that's the most important aspect. But we need all the foundation items in place. The stuff we spoke about, your budgets, your cash flow, your regulatory stuff, tax, accounting. Okay. Anything else? Guys, thank you very much. Hold on, question, here we go. Yeah, so finding around and logistics, that seems weird because you wouldn't meet certain criteria. Maybe some funders, maybe it's a funder that just is not playing in the area, in that space. You get people who fund retail, you get people who fund mining, you get people who fund in different sectors. So just check that you haven't wasted time with somebody who doesn't actually fund that industry because of and logistics. I mean, with our rail system being dead, everything's on the road. So I'm surprised. Yeah, so what I was saying earlier, when you're looking for equipment or certain things, look at who you buy from, who your suppliers are, and who your customers are. and then you can actually see potentially with an enterprise program, or they can give you a discount on the product, and you can maybe pay as labor. And one of these corporate studies, there's a lot of things. There's a lot of benefits around enterprise, funding and stuff like that. And some of them are even going as far as doing loans. So you'll get an interest-free loan. The corporate will give you an interest-free loan. We've done one with a client down. They literally gave the guy a 6 million rand loan. Payable over 5 years, 0 interest. Yeah, the product. Yeah, but the thing is, this was someone who knew their market, had done all the stuff. We helped them with their accounting, their cash flow, and answering the actual questions they needed to answer. And then the actual corporate funding them, because the corporate could actually see the benefit of having them on.
So I don't know how to get so baseline. I have a problem with science. So the different science is going to be an issue and all of it. Actually, I have for me to just
Yeah. So just around the funding on like and logistics, exactly what you're explaining. Although you're talking about in your space, what we touched on here. If you've got your documents in order, you've got your budget, you've got your cash flow, you've got your target market, you've got a little bit of business plan explaining how the money is going, and also what the loan payment is. Very often entrepreneurs don't include the loan payments in their cash flow. And then the corporate of the bank goes, are you paying me back? And you go, from my profits. They go, but the installment is 80,000 rand a month. But your profit's only 40. How are you going to pay? And think about that. So, yeah, if you need help, just shout. So have a quick look at something like that. Give advice. It's quick. Okay, cool. Guys, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it. We've got some snacks for us to enjoy. And we'll see you next month. If you guys are interested in another talk next month. Kid, you know what our chat is next month? Not? I'll just have a quick look if I can.
It's business model validation.
Okay. Thanks, Ed. So our next talk is to look at your actual business model. So this will explain to you what you were asking for. So we'll help you looking at your cash flow, looking at your business plan, in terms of what we spoke about, target market, cost of sales, who you're buying from, your purchases. So we're able to sort of evaluate, give you some advice, how do you evaluate your business plan, your target market and stuff like that. Okay, so definitely leading on after the funding that talk to move into, where am I going? What are my margins going to be? Is my product going to fit my market? Like I don't think Smarties are going to sell in, I'm stronger, yeah, it's not going to work. And Smarties will sell a lot better on blind. So change your target market. So that's the type of things, So we'll be able to help you with that. So ask those type of things, prepare, am I talking to the right people and stuff like that. Okay. Super stuff, guys. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Cheers.